Now, we're going to replace some of the placeholder content with our own custom content. Let's start at the top with the nav bar. In this case, let's work in live view and see the whole menu at one time. Find and click on the nav node in the DOM panel. Click on the node to expand it. The nav element contains an A, or anchor tag, with the brand label. We'll use this to link back to the home page from anywhere on our site, so let's leave this. The next div contains a UL, or unordered list, with the list items that provide placeholders for 2 links and 1 drop-down menu. We don't need any of this in our design, so click the UL element and press the delete key. Next is a form element, which includes the search field and button. We don't use this in our design either, so go ahead and delete the form node. So now we're left with one more UL element that contains a link and another drop-down menu. Again, we're keeping our design simple and we don't need a drop-down menu. So find the second LI, or list item, with the class of drop-down and delete that as well. So now we have just one menu item on the page. We actually want 3 of these, so we're just going to duplicate this a couple times. Right-click on the LI in the DOM panel and select Duplicate until there are 3 list items. So now that the menu structure is how we want it, let's replace the text inside of it. Double-click on the word brand to enter edit mode in live view. Then double-click again to highlight the word and replace it with Stargazer, and click outside of the area. Easy enough. Follow the same steps to replace the first link with About, the second one with Gallery, and the third with NASA. The list items jump around a bit when you go into edit mode, but if you just click outside of the area when you're done typing, it keeps the layout in place. So now we're done with the nav bar. Let's move on to the carousel. First, we're going to click the div with an ID of carousel 1 in the DOM panel. We can see that it includes an H3 heading and some paragraph text for the caption for each of the 3 images. Let's go ahead and replace that text with something a little bit more meaningful. While still in live view, click on the H3 heading for the first image and double-click to enter edit mode. Then, triple-click to highlight all of the H3 text and replace it with the word Canis Major, and click outside of that area when you're done typing. Follow the same steps to update the caption and change it to Chandra X-ray Observatory. Click the arrow icon to scroll to the next image in the carousel and replace the H3 heading text with The Tadpole, and the caption you can replace with Hubble Space Telescope. Then, click to find the third image and change the H3 text to Cloud Complex. You can change the caption to Spitzer Space Telescope. Let's move on to the article section. Click on the article node in the DOM. Then, double-click to highlight Content for New Article tag goes here, and press delete. Then, select the placeholder text for the H1 heading. Change this to Let's Get Spacey. Next, let's replace this paragraph placeholder with some Ipsum text. Using Ipsum text is common practice in the fields of print and web design when you're early in the design and layout stage. Ipsum text helps you provide the text needed to design and test your layout before you have actual content. You can generate Ipsum text directly into your code. First, click Split to go into split view. Now, click the P, or paragraph node in the DOM panel. Select the placeholder text between the paragraph tags and delete it. Then, with your cursor still between the opening and closing P tags, type the word lorem followed by a number which indicates the number of words you want to generate. I want about 70 words for this paragraph, so I'll type lorem 70 and then press Tab to generate the text. Click the refresh button in the document toolbar if you need to refresh live view to display the new paragraph text. Now let's update the thumbnail. Our design doesn't call for the 2 buttons that are added by default. It's easy enough to delete these with the DOM panel. Click on one of the buttons and then see what gets highlighted in the DOM panel. The 2 buttons are added as A, or anchor tags, inside of a paragraph tag. If we just delete the whole paragraph, we can delete the 2 buttons at once. click the paragraph node that contains the two A tags in the DOM panel and press delete. Just above the paragraph node that we just deleted is another paragraph that contains some placeholder text. Select the P node in the DOM panel. Now, look in Code View and delete the placeholder text between the paragraph tags. Next, type lorem 40 and press Tab to add 40 words of Ipsum text. Now we'll add some text to the footer. We'll keep it simple for now and just add some copyright information. So in Live View, double-click to select and then delete the placeholder text that was added to the footer. Now type Copyright 2015. Next, we want to add a copyright symbol. For this part, we'll need to work in the code, so place the cursor just before the word copyright inside the footer tag in Code View. Now, in the Insert panel, find the HTML category and scroll to the bottom until you see the character option. Click the drop-down icon to select Copyright from the list. Refresh Live View if needed. The HTML code for the copyright symbol is added in Code View, and we can now see the copyright symbol in Live View. Now the last thing we need to do is to add 2 more of these image thumbnails to our page. So let's expand Live View to see it in action. When we added a thumbnail to the page, Dreamweaver created a row with 1 column. Go ahead and click the div with the class of row in the DOM panel. Then, select the div that's nested inside of it with the COL class. Notice that the column is assigned a class of COL MD4. Remember when we created the page using the settings in the new document dialog? We decided to use a 12-column layout. This means that each row on our page can hold elements that span 12 columns. The COL in the class name indicates that this is a column, and the MD and the 4 indicate that the component will span 4 columns in the grid layout for the page when the display size is medium or larger. So this row can hold 3 of these thumbnails. Get it? 3 elements that are each 4 columns wide add up to 12 columns. Since we have our column nodes selected, we can easily duplicate this thumbnail. Use Ctrl-D for Windows or Command-D for Mac to duplicate the thumbnail. One thing that I think is really cool is how easy it is to customize my layout just by resizing these columns. I can drag this resize handle to expand the thumbnail from 4 to 8 columns, which fills up the row. But since we need 3 columns, I'm going to undo this change, and using the same method as before, I'll duplicate this column one more time so that we have 3 thumbnails in our design. If I duplicate one more time to where there are 4 thumbnails, a new row will get created, and the last thumbnail wraps to that new row. So now we can finish up this thumbnail sections by adding our own heading text. Double-click to select and replace the first H3 headings with C ring. Finish up by replacing the second thumbnail's heading with A ring and the third thumbnail's heading with S rings. With our text content and structure in place, let's add some images in the next video.